Are we ready? Okay.
Yep, I'm ready.
So hello, everyone, and thank you for joining Friday Night Chats with Dr. Karen Love. Friday Night Chats is sponsored by the Love Family Christian Foundation and is in partnership with Judson University. Tonight, I am honored to have in the chat box, Simeon Genadiev, Esquire. Thank you. Simeon received his education from the University at Albany, at the University of New York, and the University of Miami School of Law. His stellar career initially focused on fighting consumer crime, consumer fraud, economic crime, and unfair business practices. After serving the great citizens of Miami-Dade County, Mr. Genadiev went into private practice. He has spent his career in private practice working assiduously, as he says, on getting compensation for his injured clients and communicating clearly with them every step of the way. Through his experience litigating cases from the early stages to final resolution at trial, Simeon has gained the tools necessary to get the results deserved by the client. His involvement in national and statewide class actions, such as the case against FPL for its failure to restore power to Floridians after Hurricane Irma, and his $1.4 million settlement case against Kia Motors and Hyundai, has shaped his legal career. Also co-hosting this interview with me tonight is Michael J. Love. Michael Love also graduated from the Miami School of Law. His career focuses on mergers and acquisitions, investment banking, and private equity. It is indeed a pleasure to welcome Mr. Genadiev and Mr. Love to the chat room. But before we begin, so that we can entertain questions from the Zoom and Facebook community, I am asking everyone to ask one question at a time, not three bundled up, but one at a time, and delay comments toward the end of the program. Thank you and enjoy the discussion. Michael Love, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And Simeon, it's great to have you on Friday Night Chats. What I'd like to do is just start by allowing everybody to get to know you a little bit. So in your words, who is Simeon Genadiev?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for that warm and wonderful introduction, Dr. Love. It sounds like almost you were talking about somebody else. It was such a great and powerful intro. And always great to be with you, Michael. Thank you for joining us here tonight as well. So who am I as a person? I was born in Bulgaria, came to the States when I was really young. Both my parents, barely could speak a word of English. And that experience has kind of shaped my life and my career. I saw firsthand, unfortunately, how sometimes people that are unfamiliar with not just the legal system, but kind of the system in America can be taken advantage of. And I never really like it when the little guy gets taken advantage of. So I've always kind of tried to be a fighter, and combat some of this injustice. First, when I worked in consumer protection for the county, and even afterwards when I've gone into private practice, that's always kind of been in my back is, in this country particularly, you got to fight to get anywhere. Nobody's going to give you anything. Everything is earned. And that's, unfortunately not the case everywhere in the world. So I'm glad that I'm here and I'm able to do what I do in one of the greatest legal systems in the world. And I guess the last thing I'd like to kind of add in comment is that I think I bring a lot of passion. That's what I like to say first and foremost when it comes to me. I care a lot. Unfortunately, sometimes too much. I care even more than my clients did sometimes. I almost want to shake them to tell them, we got to take this thing seriously. This is a serious issue, and this is a serious, incident that's happening. And if we let people get away with trivial violations or small, errors, those things can kind of snowball, and people think they can get away with a little bit because you're not calling them out on it. They're gonna, you give up an inch and people take a mile. So I've always tried to fight for that inch.
That's so, um, so one of the things that you talked about was having passion, Simon. And so you've been practicing for about a decade now. So given your experience, what would you say are qualities or other good qualities from a lawyer, or what makes a good lawyer?
Man, that's a difficult question. Let me give you a lawyer's answer. That depends.
There you go.
And I know people hate to hear that, right? You just want an answer. You don't want somebody telling you, oh, it depends on this, it depends on that. But I can give you, a very simple example, right? Take you, Michael Love, if you're going, if you're injured, right? You're going to find a personal injury lawyer. That individual is going to need to have certain qualities, certain attributes, certain skills.
Yeah.
Whereas if Michael Love has a tax issue, you're looking for an entirely different set of skills, traits, and qualifications. And I can even get more nuanced than that, right? You're not, if you, Michael Love, have a problem with the IRS, which is of course something that would never ever happen, but in this hypothetical scenario, if you have a problem with the IRS, the type of lawyer you want defending you against the IRS is not necessarily the type of lawyer you want helping you structure a deal so that you're not paying more tax than you should be.
Yeah.
So I guess to narrow it down, specialization is very important.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to finding the right lawyer. You got to know what area or what expertise you're looking for. And to generalize it to all, I guess, attorneys, persistence, perseverance, whatever legal issue, whatever legal dispute, or whatever legal problem you may have, you want somebody that's not just going to give up. You want somebody that's going to fight for you, that's going to stick to it.
Yeah.
You want somebody that's fearless. So many times I'll go before a judge or go into a deposition, and especially in my area, it is contentious. We are fighting tooth and nail, and it can get nasty at times. So you can't back down. A lot of it is, unfortunately, it's like a game of chicken almost.
Yeah.
Who is going to give up and fold first?
Yeah.
And then last but not least, as a good friend of mine likes to say, I go to the tape, baby.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know what is their track record.
Yeah.
What do their wins look like? What do their losses look like? Have they been to trial before? Have they argued at, appellate level? And this is where what type of kind of legal issue you have is important. When it comes to my area of expertise, personal injury, you want an attorney that's been to trial, because there's nothing that scares an insurance company into paying an adequate and fair settlement like an attorney that knows I will take you to trial if you do not pay every fair cent that my client is owed. And when I do go to trial, I'm going to hit you hard. I'm going to hit you for a big verdict.
Yeah. Instead of having somebody that's just that's managing settlements at the end of the day, right?
Exactly. I mean,
Okay.
There's a lot of pushing paper, so to speak, in the legal profession, but there's so much more to it than just that, right? You need somebody that's got a bunch of different kind of tools in their toolkit, so to speak.
Appreciate that. And that's really good information. Looking at this industry as a whole, it's more of a historic occupation, right? Generally built on traditions and with minimal disruption outside of the internet and computers. But now we've seen a disruption with COVID. So, how has that impacted the industry? Combine this just, so what's changed? And then what do you think is going to remain the new normal, and what do you think is going to revert back to the old days?
That's a great question. I mean, so COVID has obviously changed everything. There's almost nothing that COVID hasn't touched and changed, at least in some way. I mean, I don't even know if I knew what a QR code was before, COVID hit. Now,
Exactly.
now all my business cards have QR codes, multiple even, so. And I guess in this particular profession, you kind of hit the nail on the head. The legal field, it tends to be kind of known as like an old boys club, so to speak. And there tends to be kind of an unwillingness to listen to new ideas or to kind of change how things have been. I mean, there's this one case and I almost always kind of do a little background on the opposing counsel that I'm going up against. I'll check their Florida bar background. And I mean, this guy's been on the bar since before I was born. People have been doing this for 30, 40, 50 years. There are some attorneys that still dictate into a microphone their motions and then have somebody go type it up later. So there is kind of an unwillingness to change and kind of being stuck in our ways a little bit. Mm-hmm. But COVID, because it forced people to make certain changes, and like I'll give you an example of one of the good things, right? For example, previously before COVID, if I had a very simple motion, very simple issue that me and the other side could not reach an agreement on, I'd have to go down to Miami-Dade courthouse or the Broward courthouse, whatever, courthouse we're in. I'd have to wait for 20, 30, 40 other attorneys to argue their motions, argue my motion in person, and then physically handwrite an order and have the judge sign it there.
Yeah.
Obviously, during COVID, everything went to Zoom. So now I don't need to waste an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is, driving down to the courthouse and then sitting there and waiting in a courthouse, not being able to do other work. Now I'm in my office. While I'm waiting, I'm typing up other motions or sending out emails, doing other stuff. And it allows me the flexibility as a plaintiff's attorney. For me, time is everything. I have many cases. I'm limited as far as how much time I can spend on each case. I'm also limited, or I used to be limited, as far as where I could be. There's only one me. So I can't be in court in Broward and Miami-Dade County in the past. They're just too far away. And motion calendar is always 9 a.m. So now I can be in both of those places. Now I can, it allows me the flexibility to have, cases all over the state. I'm even working on, cases across the country because now I don't need to fly somewhere unless I want to. And that's, I think, the key distinction. If I feel that I need to take a deposition, for example, in person, I have that option now. Mm-hmm. If it's not worth it for me, certain cases are obviously not, I don't want to say as important, but the economics don't always work out to where I can fly to, Dallas to take the deposition of an expert on a case where, there may only be but so much in insurance coverage.
Yeah.
So it allows me to pick and choose, which is a great thing for me. I like to be able to make my own decisions as far as this is where I want to be and this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. Now, the flip side of that coin, unfortunately, is COVID's made kind of an incredible backlog. The many, the initial months where everything was shut down, there were no trials happening. Yeah. Now that we've started to kind of get back into it, the backlog is starting to kind of dissipate, but there's, the courts were overworked before COVID. So this only now put more stress on them as far as getting to trial, which to me is everything. I can't put the pressure on the defendant to pay the fair amount if I don't have the looming trial to
Yeah.
scare them with. And you also have the kind of issue of jurors. Some people are hesitant to even go for jury duty because, I mean, people were always hesitant to go to jury duty, but now it gives them another excuse, you know. Oh, I can't go because of COVID. I can't, you know. So there are those challenges. But I think, like with anything, you know, unfortunately, COVID's here. It's not going anywhere, as we all know. So we can't go back. You just got to move forward.
I think that's interesting. I'm going to put a couple of notes for some follow-ups. But so you started to get a bit into some of the casework or specific sub-industries that you focus on. But why don't we take this moment and, you know, now that you're running a law firm of partners at G Law Group, why don't you take a moment and tell us about the firm and what are the types of law that you're focusing on? How are you focusing on protecting people today?
Well, so I guess I'll start it with kind of what my focus was when I created the firm, and how I'm trying to continue and expand on that original goal. You know, the plaintiff injury cases is unique in the sense that my cases are on contingency. You know, my clients don't pay a dime for my services until I either get a settlement or I get a verdict for them. So we're really in this thing together. So for me, in my personal life, family is everything. So that's kind of where I started my business focus. I want my client, and you know, I tell my assistants, you know, when they answer the phone, you know, thank you for calling the G Law Group, where we treat our clients like family. How can I help you? I want my clients to feel like they're a part of the G Law Group family, because we're in this thing together. In order to defeat these large and powerful corporations that have endless budgets, we have to be united. And as part of that, I wanted to give a voice to the voiceless, essentially. You know, some of the sexual assault cases that I deal with, people are afraid to speak up. I mean, you can even look at, and I won't even say his name, but that U.S. gymnastics team doctor. He was able to do that to those poor girls and boys for decades. Why? Because nobody spoke up.
Yeah.
Or maybe no one was willing to hear the people that were speaking up. So that was my mission when I started this firm, is when my clients speak up, I want their message to be heard. And if they can't do it on their own, best believe I'm going to make sure that everybody hears our message loud and clear.
Yeah.
And because even Dr. Love can tell you, I'm loud. So you're going to hear me. You might try and drown out my clients, but you're going to hear my voice.
Amen.
And then kind of the last thing is, you know, I wanted to really focus on community, because I want to be an active member of my community, but I also wanted to make an impact in parts of the community that don't either receive the type of attention they should, or the type of attention that they really need. For example, you know, I chose gun violence as one of those issues that for me was really an important thing that I wanted to not only prevent, but end. I know you guys in Chicago know a little bit about gun violence and how that can wreak havoc and tear apart communities. I mean,
every day.
Every day, and just it breaks my heart to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So those are the type of issues that I wanted to highlight when I first started the firm, and now that I'm trying to get bigger and grow, I don't want to lose that. There are obviously obviously I run a business, so I got to make sure that the lights are on and everybody's getting paid. People rely on me. So I have to be careful about what cases I choose, but I always want to make sure that I don't lose what my initial focus was when I kind of started this thing.
So there's a couple of things that you hit on there. So I think maybe let's go deeper into the operation of the firm. So I want to dive into first, how would you describe your leadership style?
I guess, I try to do my best to allow people the opportunity to be successful. I think being a leader is not just about you have your focus and you're making sure that whatever you want to see get done gets done. You have to allow people the opportunity, in my opinion, to be successful and have their own wins, so to speak. I try to do my best to, give the guidance and training on the front end so that when my employees or anybody I'm working with is faced with a particular challenge issue, I hope that I've prepared them as best that I can. And when they face that challenge, they don't go, oh, I wasn't expecting this, or I didn't think this was going to happen. Which is, I think, why a lot of people end up failing. They're just not prepared to succeed. Nobody's born in, a success. You gotta prepare. You gotta do certain things. Like I said in the beginning, nothing is given. Everything is earned. So I would say I try to take almost a hands-off approach while making sure that I'm properly supervising them, but also providing kind of constructive feedback. Obviously I'm the managing partner, so the buck stops with me. If something goes wrong, it's my fault. At the end of the day, it's me. It doesn't matter who might have made the mistake. It's me that everything lands with. But in that same light, or at the same token, I can't be successful without my team. We're all in this together. I can't be in 25 different places. I can't always, once things get to a certain level, I'm obviously very involved, but I can't, some of my clients, I just got some medical records on one of my gunshot cases. It's like 4,000 pages of medical records. I can't go through every single page myself on all the cases that I have. So I do, I need the help of my assistants and my staff. You guys will laugh at this. Even before the chat tonight, my assistant Christy, as she's leaving for the weekend, I call her. I'm like, hey Christy, can you help me pair my AirPods to the laptop? As you know, Michael, it takes a village. It takes a village.
Lord knows that.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, Lord knows that's exactly my relationship with technology, and
yeah, me and you, we struggle in those areas.
Yeah,
we struggle. We do well in other areas, but that seems to be something we could definitely work on.
You guys got plenty of company over here, I'm telling you.
Yeah, but at least you got an excuse, Dr. Love. Like, when you were young,
you think that'll work for me?
Oh my goodness. Hey, you went down this road talking about managing the firm. So I want to hit on this a bit. So as managing partner, you're not only dealing with cases, right? So you also have to focus on branding, on the marketing, finance, et cetera. How have you, as the leader, been managing those different aspects of the business side, not just the legal work of it? Does that include delegating, or I'll let you go with it?
Honestly, I'm not managing at all. It's a struggle, to be 100% honest with you.
Sure.
And I just touched upon, especially when there are just so many things I'm not good at.
Yeah.
So delegating to me is crucial. Absolutely crucial. Finding the right people that are better than me in certain areas, like, to give you an example with marketing, that's been one of my biggest challenges, to kind of unlock and figure out digital marketing, because it's not something I am familiar with, and there's just so much more I need to learn. And in my particular focus, plaintiff's injury down here in South Florida, and I mean across the country, is an extremely competitive arena. The marketing budgets of some of these, other firms are enormous. So that has been a struggle. HR and that kind of stuff. Luckily I do run some QuickBooks. I got some accounting stuff, but I have a PPO company, TriNet, that handles pretty much all my HR. And so it's about finding the right mix of, cooking your own sauce, so to speak, but making sure that you have, a really good sous chef, or, a great, baker or something like that. Got to find the right people, and you got to make sure that you put them in the positions to be successful. Right now, I'm hiring so many different young kids just because I need that technology framework, that IT background, to really kind of drive certain aspects of my business. Like, I'm trying to figure out automations and how to kind of do less work myself and use my computers to my advantage, so to speak.
Yeah, I get that. And that's especially, that's tough to take it all on. So, I think we all understand that. Let me ask you, so as you've been growing as a leader, how have you been cultivating your leadership skills?
Well, I'd say first and foremost, like, you have to watch. You have to, with anything, right? If you want to learn how to do a somersault, right? You're not just going to go out there and start doing it. You're going to watch other people and see how it's done. It's the same for, leadership skills. It's the same for trying to be an effective leader. Watch other effective leaders and how they handle certain tasks, or how they go about giving instruction, or whatever that may be. You got to identify, at least I've had to identify who I want to kind of emulate in my leadership style. And then the other thing is, me being a nosy person, this comes natural to me. You got to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
If you don't ask people that you think are doing what you want to be doing, then you won't learn the skills needed to kind of reach that level. A lot of this, particularly when it comes to leadership, you're not dealing with necessarily new concepts. There are always new ideas and new things that are coming out, but some of that framework, some of those, let's say if you got good bones, everything else will work out. If you have certain good leadership instincts or skills that you've attained from others, then you'll be effective with whatever challenge faces you, because you have to, at least I think, different challenges or different issues require different skills,
Yeah.
And then I guess the last thing I'll try to do is, some people ask the questions, but then are they actually listening to the advice that they're being given? Are you actually putting into practice what you're being told? I've seen this, and I guess it's a different situation, but I've seen this in my career, my practice, I'll be sitting in on a hearing, listening to other people arguing, and I'll hear the judge point this particular attorney towards an area and an issue that they want them to go into, and for whatever reason, the attorney just keeps going on like their little script and that they've written out, and it keeps. That's not. You have to be adaptable. So you have to listen to what people tell you and take every kind of criticism or advice. Use it going forward. You never know when you're going to need, what you were. And even I experienced this all the time. I had to go back to a case when I first started because now I'm running into the same issue again. This is a case from like 2017 that now I have to go back and refamiliarize myself with because the issue came up again. I hope that answered your question. I don't know. I know I went on a long-winded explanation there.
No, we're perfect here. You started talking about identifying leaders that you wanted to emulate. You said so. What leaders inspire you?
I guess that's a tough one. And I know you understand this. I tend to usually go back to sports.
Yeah.
when it comes to when it comes to leaders that I respect and I emulate. I mean, we started talking about this, before we got started with the chat. Even though I really dislike Duke, I can't argue with Mike Krzyzewski being an incredible leader of men.
Yeah.
His track record shows that he is. And you can even, even a guy like, I really love Greg Popovich in the NBA. He's been around for so long, and he really seems like he cares about it. I mean, me and you have also spoken about Mike Calipari. He's a different kind of leader, but he's an incredible people person. He's an incredible recruiter of talent. And I like to also think, it's important in my area, not only picking the right employees, but picking the right experts.
Yeah.
For example, and I'll get into this a little later. I like to think that I have a great ability to identify who's good in a particular field and who has what tools I think I need to help me. And I think that's what effective leaders do. I'll take you even to history. I can bring you back to old time leaders like, the Winston Churchills of the world, who is just incredible orators. And then you have even, I could take you back to Machiavelli and General Too, the Art of War and the Prince. They were teaching back then leadership styles, how to win in the art of war, how to get, if you're a leader, how to get your people to, whether it's fear, respect, love. And then I can even take you to the legal profession. Ben Crump is an incredible leader. And that's what I was mentioning earlier. I'm doing research on one of my cases, and I need a forensic pathologist. And I'm looking up, different experts across the country, different people that I can use. And obviously I want some of the best.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this one particular expert, and I won't mention his name, but I'll mention how I knew that A, I don't think he would have the time for me, but B, he is incredible at what he does. He was the forensic pathologist who did the George Floyd independent autopsy.
Wow.
Very, very serious, heavy hitter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That's, I think as the moment that I asked that question and then you started going down your list, I realized that you and I have the same list.
Great minds think alike.
Apparently. Let me, I want to take some time now that we're passing through our leadership segment of this, but just to get to know you a little bit more. So, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and then what are your professional goals?
Where do I see myself in 5 years? That's actually an easy question. I see myself on a yacht, Sandro Pay.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Sipping rosé, or some type of expensive champagne or something like that. On a more serious note, I mean, I see myself in the next 5 years continuing, this fight to end gun violence, hopefully trying to end sexual trafficking, end the exploitation of hardworking Americans. And I do mean end that, but I understand that it's an unrealistic goal. I hope that in 5-10 years, I will have made a dent. That's really what I want to see myself in 5-10 years. Hopefully I've brought a little more justice to the world. Hopefully I've made people, because at the end of the day, you have large corporations, they're run by people that make decisions.
Yeah.
Hopefully I've made some of those people think twice before, cutting a corner, skimping out on security, or, not getting a medal. I mean, give you an example, how many lives could have been saved if that hotel in Vegas just put in basic protocols to prevent somebody from carrying 2 huge bags filled with submachine guns. Those are some of the things that I hope to prevent in the future.
Yeah, no, that is great too. So we've had this debate, the two of us, along with, we've been blessed in law school to have friends that come from different backgrounds. And I think, Simon being from Bulgaria and New York, we have our African friend, our Jewish friend, our Middle Eastern friend. I was the resident simple Midwestern child. And, but, I want to talk about your take on diversity, and so what is diversity to you? Do you think that because you have, I think that because you have more of a global perspective, I think that could be interesting, but I'll let for you to define it. And then why is it important in the workplace?
So for me, diversity, it not only incorporates, coming from different backgrounds, whether it's, you from the Midwest or a Nigerian friend, or friends from South Florida or New York, the rest of the country. I think what's sometimes lost is in the concept of diversity is a diversity of thought as well. I think it is crucial to not only, and I mean, obviously your background shapes the way that you think, but certain, I guess, diverse opinions or ideas, they're crucial for me because they allow me to view something from a different lens or coin, right? My job as an attorney, especially a personal injury attorney, and one that specializes in class actions, and I'm fighting against corporations, I'm looking at trial on almost all my cases right when I get them, in order to convince a jury of my peers. I need to have people that see things from different viewpoints.
Yeah.
That person in the jury, they can be from South Florida, but the background that they come from, they have a entirely different mindset, entirely different opinion of what is crucial, what is important in a particular case. Yeah. But when I have more diverse opinions, more diverse personalities and backgrounds, it allows me to thrive when it comes to picking the juror that I think will be most favorable to us. It helps me when coming up with how to put particular pressure points to compel insurance companies or businesses to put, fair value offers on the cases. I think without diversity, it's almost like I'm looking through this little lens. It's like I got my horse blinders on, and that can happen in this profession. So it's good to take a step back and say, hey, and I ask my assistants all the time. And I have one of my assistants from Nigeria. I got another one that's she's from Hialeah, Cuban background, and I have another one that was Haitian. All that helps me to when I ask them, hey, what do you think about this particular case or this particular injury? And not, they give me different viewpoints so that I can take a step back and say, maybe I wasn't looking at every single side of this coin.
Yeah.
And you want to be as prepared as possible when you're going to trial, because everything's live. There's no do-overs. There's no, oh, sorry, Your Honor, I want to ask that question differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah, essentially. Appreciate that. So I'm thinking, just thinking about this whole segment, and passion is the word that keeps coming to my mind when you're talking about the work that you're currently doing with how you came into this profession and what you built from your experience base and what you're trying to give and continue to give to your clients. So knowing how much passion lies into helping and you helping give a voice to the voiceless, what are you currently working on or pushing towards that might be newer for your firm? What kind of issues are you trying to tackle?
Oh, as always, I'm trying to help people. I'm now kind of focusing. I wouldn't say I'm taking my attention away from the gunshot, the sexual assault, the real injury cases, but I am starting to get more into the consumer protection space. Unscrupulous companies all over the country flout the law, and unfortunately, worst of all, most people don't even know that their employer or their department store or whatever, they don't even know that they're breaking the law. So I'm trying to educate people as much as I can. Even take Illinois, right? Your great state that I would chastise you about a bit during law school, because I'm from New York and you're from Illinois. Chicago and New York always had that squabble. But your great state has taken a leading role in protecting biometric information. And in the future, this is going to be a huge area. One of the other Friday night chats was on that subject. When these companies don't protect your biometric information and don't let you know what your rights are with respect to that information, your iris, your fingerprint, your whatever,
Your face
is not being protected. It is less safe. And when that happens, hackers, criminals, members of the Russian government can gain access to your biometric information, and they're going to use that to commit fraud.
Yeah.
They're going to use that to stake your money, or God knows what evils could even be thought up by some of these people once they have your iris or your fingerprint.
My goodness.
So consumer protection, and that word protection is most important in my mind, and should be more important in the minds of certain businesses. We need gatekeepers that will keep you and I safe, whether that be when you go to the airport, you have to go through the TSA little machine and go through all those checks to keep you safe from another 9/11 or any other terrible terrorist threat or attack. Just like you need a security company to make sure that criminals don't gain access to your apartment building, for example. Just like you need gatekeepers to make sure that your biometric information doesn't fall into the wrong hands or isn't being sold for monetary gain. We've put certain people in that position and they need to act accordingly, if that makes sense.
So because that's interesting, because on the one hand, we become maybe we just don't think about it, right? For I think we talked maybe a few years ago about Clear, right? It's like going through like TSA, and on the one hand, it's like, oh, this seems like a convenience, right? With using Clear, but Clear is not just for the airport; it's also for Great America or Disneyland. So I think what I'm hearing is, be the gatekeeper, but don't sell it to like a Nielsen, like a Nielsen marketing company, right?
Exactly. And since we've actually had that talk, I've obviously done my research and due diligence, and believe it or not, Clear, they actually do a pretty good job of maintaining and not letting that information get into the wrong hands. You do, unfortunately, what I've come across in some of my research, and I'm getting into that space more, at least with respect to the biometric information. There are a lot of employers now that, and instead of, Dr. Love, I'm sure you might remember these days where you had to physically punch in. You had to put your card in there and you had to pull the trigger, and that's when you punched in.
I'm like, I remember that though. That was my first job.
I mean, get your doctorate already, Michael. So no, I'm teasing, obviously. So nowadays, a lot of those places they use your fingerprint. So you scan in, you put in your fingerprint, and when you leave work, you put your fingerprint in. But I've read of these like huge data breaches where their fingerprints are now in the hands of who knows who, and you got to give. This is for me. This is what America was built on. You have to give people the option. You have to keep them informed. If, like me, for example, there was a building I was looking at in Miami Beach to live in. One reason I did not move into that building is because to get into the doors and stuff, you have to scan your biometric information. Wow. Now, I know that these are like the hackers are looking for that kind of stuff. It's a rampant area, but if you're just somebody looking to buy or rent an apartment, you don't know that kind of stuff. And then
like security.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. And that's what I think is missing. If you want to take, biometric information, you've decided that's a good business practice for you, and you have the capability to keep that information secure, that's fine. But you still got to let your employees know, we're collecting this information. This is how we are storing it, and this is what's being done with it.
Yeah.
Michael, I'm going to jump in here. I got a couple of comments from Facebook and a question. Kim Johnson says that, Simon, you're a pioneer in your industry. Your passion will bring change and how law is practiced. She was interested to hear what you thought about the future of your practice and the areas of gun violence. And I know you spoke to that a bit, so I'm going to just jump down to her next question, where she said, such a heavy burden to end gun violence, sex trafficking, etc. How do you find balance to re-energize for the crusade?
Well, first and foremost, I'll tell you from your lips to God's ears, I hope that that I can put an end to this and bring some closure to these significant issues.
Mhm.
As far as how I kind of maintain a balance, I try to, and it's difficult because clients always tend to creep up in my mind. I try to set aside time for, when I hang out with my girlfriend, Emily, where I try actively not to think about cases or the work. I try to be involved in charity and community work. I do some work with the Children's Bereavement Society that makes me feel really good. But these are difficult issues to tackle. Gun violence has always been an issue, and now it's starting to get more attention. But I think the mindset of people is also starting to change. You're now starting to have talk about removing the immunity given to gun manufacturers.
Mhm.
There was recently, I think it was like over $100 million settlement for the Sandy Hook families, all the children that I think Remington ended up paying a significant amount for. So things are progressing, and I'm just kind of trying to do my part to affect those areas. Just like, sex trafficking, it's never something you're going to be able to eliminate. But if there isn't those, roach motels or those establishments that are turning a blind eye to this issue, the massage parlors, those places, then it will be easier to catch people from kind of slipping through those cracks. Because if business is kind of taking a leading role, then we can ferret out those cases that shouldn't reach my desk, that we should be able to catch the sexual trafficking early enough to where it doesn't reach my desk. We should be able to prevent guns from being in the hands of the wrong people. And I'm not anti-gun at all. My good friend here, Michael Love's got a concealed carrier permit. If I was willing to devote my time to actually getting one of those, there's nothing wrong with gun ownership. There is a problem with guns getting in the wrong hands, and they're not being effective controls and community controls as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, one thing we got to get rid of too is we got to get rid of this kind of, call it like a code of silence. We got to, it's multi-tiered. I'm doing my part, right? I can only go after these companies, these buildings, these places that are not providing the security. There still needs to be community going after the individuals that are perpetrating these crimes. There needs to be effective policing of our neighborhoods and our communities to be able to catch the people that are doing. I mean, I have cases where, one of my cases, my client, he's paralyzed. He was shot 12 times. This is like 3 years ago this happened. They're nowhere close to catching his killer. And they're even not giving me all the access to the records that and I won't get into the specifics, but they're not giving me access to all the records that the police department has because they're saying it's an ongoing investigation. This has been 3 years.
My goodness.
I'm his attorney. Let me take the reins. Let me try and so there's some red tape and some bureaucracy that stands in the way, but I'm doing the best that I can to try and make an impact in those areas. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, and we thank you for that, for sure. One thing that really touched my heart is when you were talking about people not being prepared to succeed. That really touched me because you were born in Bulgaria and you said your parents didn't know a lick of English when they came over to America. But yet they've instilled values in you to prepare you for success. I mean, you're there. I mean, not only you're educated, but you knew what success looked like, and you had a strategy and you went for it and continued to succeed in everything you do. So I just want you to share some of the values that your parents instilled in you to get you to where you are today.
That's like the easiest question I've had all night.
Okay. But a very important one to me.
Very important one. As my brother sits there in the background listening to me, I wouldn't be anywhere without my parents. My father is probably one of the hardest working people I've ever met. You know, when we first came here and he was working for a Bulgarian airline, sometimes he would get home 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. There would be some weeks I wouldn't really see him. And then even when faced with kind of that challenge, you know, communism went down. So he had to now figure out what do I do? You know, my family's here. We're living in the United States. We're not going to go back to Bulgaria. We're comfortable here. So he had to, you know, get on his feet, think quickly, and, you know, he created a successful business that, you know, put me through, you know, university and school, and, you know, paid for the life that I'm able to live now. I'm only trying to build on, you know, their success. And my mom, even more of an important figure in my life. She has been the rock that, you know, whenever I get down on myself, she picks me up and, you know, gives me that motherly touch that I need, while also being, you know, tough in the moments that I need, and telling me to stop being a, you know, however cantankerous I'm being in the moment. And then also, you know, providing a strong work ethic, a strong sense of caring about what you're doing, not taking pride in the work that you do. My mom always instilled that in me, and even now, she's been incredible as far as the balance she was able to achieve working, you know, with my dad, helping his business and company grow. I mean, they're a team. Without them together, none of this would have been possible. And, you know, my mom, one of the strongest women I know, and she instilled that strength in me to this day. So without, you know, both of them, this wouldn't be possible.
Yeah,
And if I could teach them how to use Zoom, they would be on here.
Well, we're recording it, so perhaps you can show them how to basically look you up on Zoom. I'm not Zoom, but Facebook, YouTube, and we have a podcast as well.
Excellent.
Yeah, so
Excellent.
That's excellent. I'm really excited because there are no barriers to you. I'm really, there's no constraints with you. You're quite a visionary, and I'm really excited to hear your story and your parents' story, because that's the story you want to share with our kids. And the reason it touched me so deeply was because some of the messaging out there today, although some kids might try hard, they might still be considered marginalized or on the cusp. And so I just wanted to hear your story, because that's what encourages kids when they see other people that are very successful in what they do and are not afraid. They are not afraid. And so I just appreciate your story. One other question I have for you. I won't go to the EU because we're talking about the partnerships. I won't do that too much. But there's one thing, when I was reading about the European partnerships with the Caribbeans and South Africa and some of the African countries, because we kind of touched on that. There were countries on the Eastern Bloc that did not ratify their partnership into the EU. And so Germany was consistent, Poland was consistent, I believe Belgium was one of them as well. And so I just want to hear your perspective on that. What has to change? Because these countries have the natural resources and the minerals, and they have everything that, so obviously the other countries want access. But what has to change in the thinking of allowing such a diverse group come into the EU?
Well, I mean, I guess what I'll tell you is the makeup of the European continent is just so, I mean, not just Europe, I mean, Africa, South America, Asia, cultures are very different. They share some type of common identity, but it's difficult to, and I mean, even some of these countries have historical, rivalries and beefs, like Serbia and Croatia, Montenegro, and those places. I think what's needed to kind of increase the amount of membership, and obviously I'm not an expert in this field at all. I don't profess.
We're just having a conversation.
I don't profess or claim to be an expert, but in my opinion, and then this is actually like the current situation in Ukraine and Russia has, I definitely don't want to say it's helped, because no good has come out of that. But the ideological distinctions that countries have are now coming more to the forefront. Certain countries are trying to be more open and more free, or leaning more towards the European Union, like Ukraine was. There are certain forces that don't want that type of unity. They would prefer a bit more division.
Okay.
So I think it's difficult to do on a continent like Europe, where there is a lot of, I mean, anywhere. It's difficult anywhere to, that's why the United States was able to thrive and do so well, because, it's us in Canada, really, in North America. And we all share that same common framework and goal and identity, and there isn't that historical tension and beef, for lack of a better word. So I think it's difficult. I'm hopeful that, the world will, I'm generally a hopeful person. I kind of have to be in the cases that I deal with. But I'm hopeful that one day in the future, there will be kind of a better amalgamation of all these countries coming together. And whether that takes form in the European Union, or because even I already see the European Union kind of like when you had Brexit and the UK, which is, a very significant force in Europe, when they left, it just seems like it's even more fragmented now than it may have been in the past. And like I said, the Ukraine-Russia thing, it's only added fuel to that fire, so to speak.
Okay. Thank you. I had to ask you an international question.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
But I do want to open the floor for other questions. Oh, everybody's quiet tonight.
That's okay.
No, I know. Okay.
I'll stick my head in. I'll stick my head
Okay.
in. And let's I saw Abby unmuted. Daughter Abby, you want to
go ahead? I'll go next.
I might step on your HR expertise.
No, mine was unrelated to that. So,
okay. So first of all, outstanding job you've done tonight, and we're so proud of you and the work you've done, the passion you're sharing. I mean, I love listening to your heart and your expertise and your professionalism, all that package that makes up you, and the impact that you're going to have. I think it's going to be outstanding. So a quick business question, and I know Michael. I was sitting over here and I was thinking, man, Michael's taking all of my questions. But
we think alike.
You talked about five-year planning, but as you look out into the future and the impact, with the purpose that you outlined of wanting to have impact on a number of different levels, nationally and internationally, causes that are important to you, to your heart, as well as your business acumen. How are you thinking that you can take this business model that you have and make it duplicatable, make it franchisable? Whatever the right term would be. Any thoughts you have around it? Because of what you're doing and the impact that you're having and are going to have, and the vision that you clearly the Lord's given you. I think it's the question on the front for those of us who have to think beyond the back porch is, how do we really impact multiple areas with the calling that we have in our lives? So just touch on any of that you like, really.
No. That's a great question, and I mean, this isn't something that really comes up in legal, but you know, in the business world, it's like, are you scalable? You know, is this,
That's my term. That's the
I
term.
know, I know that's what you were looking
That's the term. Thank you.
for. So yes, I already have that vision, and I'm trying to put in the processes to be able to expand not only outside of South Florida and into the rest of the country, but to be able to like you said, have an impact nationally, and because these are issues that affect every single state. So right now, I guess my plan is two or threefold. Obviously, you can't scale any business without having capital, right? So I definitely need to bring some more money in, and I need to, my goal for the future, so that I can have the large team and have offices all over the country, is to get the software needed to kind of use this model and, like you said, expand it to across the country. Because what I do requires a lot of resources to do it effectively and do it well. You know, sometimes I have to make gambles on experts in certain cases, and I don't see any of that money until I either get a settlement or I get a large verdict. And even when I get a large verdict, you know, nobody just wants to, nobody's going to say, oh, you did a great job. Or here's a check for your verdict. There's going to be appeals. There's going to be, you know, and sometimes cases can drag out years and years and years. So in order to go up against those large corporations with, you know, incredible amounts of capital and assets and legal teams that span hundreds of attorneys, I need to get more attorneys working for me, and I need to get even better ones that share the same kind of passion and determination that I do. And even today I went to lunch with another attorney here in Miami. She actually was my assistant when I worked at one of the firms I worked in the past, and she went into the state attorney's office, and now she just got into personal injury. She's incredible. I hope to be able to work with her in the future. And if you can identify and isolate talent, you'll always be successful.
Yeah.
Okay, daughter Abby, did I step on your question?
No, but my question kind of rolls into what was talked about. So this is good. First though, Simon, I do want to thank you so much for your time. This has been an awesome session. I'm curious about you opening up your own firm. I think that's so admirable that you've done that. And I wonder, is that something that was always your vision, or did that vision kind of grow as you grew as a professional and a leader?
That was not my vision. You know, like most things in life, it's like the crossroads of opportunity, coincidence, whatever it might be. I always wanted to help people. That was always kind of my main focus in whatever area of law that I've worked in. Plaintiff's property insurance, like, you know, windstorm claims, always on the side of the people. And the last firm I worked at before, you know, I went out on my own, the managing partner, he used to do defense work, but when I got there, it was all plaintiffs. It was all, you know, working for the people. We did a few trials together. You know, we got some great results. But I guess he didn't like plaintiffs as much as he thought. So he comes into my office one day and he tells me, you know, hey brother, I'm thinking about switching back to defense. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I mean, I didn't tell him that there in the moment, but in my head, I'm like, that's not what I want to do. So that was kind of the catalyst. And, you know, obviously I spoke to my family about it. I spoke to, you know, the people that matter in my life to see if they can, you know, this is a bit of a gamble, bit of a risk, you know, is this something you think I should do? And I got all the love and support. So So I just took a leap of faith, and here I am.
That's amazing.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for your question. Great question.
Are there additional questions? Everybody's quiet, everybody's well? Well, first of all, I just want to thank you, Simeon, for doing such an excellent job. I really enjoyed this discussion tonight. I know it's a different platform, but your story needs to be heard. It needs to be told. And we are also inspired by what you do and your passion to just continue to fight the inequities of life, right? I thank you for being that voice for so many people. So I just want to say God bless you as you continue to do your work. I want to thank Michael for co-hosting. This is the first time he's ever co-hosted with me, so I want to thank him as well for doing such a great job. And to everyone, I don't want to go over 7:30. Well, I'm actually about 11 minutes over. I apologize to both of you.
I'm long-winded. That's how it is. I talk a lot.
But I do want to invite everybody to Friday Night Chats on May 6th, where we will have Darius Granberry. Darius is the owner and founder of Leagues Wipe, which is the first and only digital wallet for fantasy players. So that's going to be an exciting topic as well. And I just wanted to say, God bless all of you. Thank you for joining tonight. And I continue to see your faces, continue to have this discussion. And as we grow in God, grow in our profession, that I am so thankful that we can do this together.
I'm so thankful that you had me here. Thank you to all of you. God bless everyone. And I'm so grateful for having this opportunity.
Awesome
All right.
job. Awesome
job.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Great to see you guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Great.
Two.
Good night.
It's just the two of us that. All right.